Hello, everybody. Welcome. Sorry we're a bit late today because we had some technical issues as it happens. It had to happen somehow. So one of our speakers is joining shortly. Thank you for bearing with us. Welcome to this ninth talk of the Urban Talk series. We were only supposed to have 8, and because you all were very committed to coming and joining us, we decided to have 4 bonus talks. So we hope you enjoyed those extra little nibbles of urban conversations. Very happy to have you. You know the drill. For the ones who are usuals of our Urban Talk series, say hi in the chat, tell us where you're joining us from. So it's always nice for us to see people from all across our region, but also people from outside. We're going to be starting shortly. We're just going to give a few minutes for a few more people to come. We have a very exciting talk today. We are featuring 2 country offices. Always fun when that happens because we can get different realities. We do have a problem with speakers in terms of technical issues, so bear with us if it's not as smooth as usual, but we'll make it work. We have a fantastic team and a support system that's here, so bear with us. But it's going to be a great one. Hello, Gareth from the UK. Hello, Amina. Thanks for sharing where you're joining from, as usual. I think Amila is joining us, so we have the speakers here. Everybody's here, and we're going to start without further ado. So, Walid, over to you.
Thank you, Darini. Hi, colleagues. Welcome. I would like to welcome you to this important session on the role of early warning system in preventing crises and damages to infrastructure. I work for the UNDP Regional Hub in Istanbul, covering Europe and Central Asia. And I would like to welcome you again to this session. The session will present how countries were able to evolve their institution and develop their institution to be able to prevent crisis than respond to crisis. So there is a lot of inspiring experiences from Bosnia-Herzegovina and Serbia on the way the role of early warning system help improve human security and prevent loss of lives and damage of infrastructure. We have 4 distinguished speakers from Bosnia-Herzegovina and Serbia. We have Goran, and we have Amila from Bosnia-Herzegovina, and we have Vlada and Dusan from Serbia. And the agenda will follow as two distinguished speakers from Bosnia-Herzegovina. Will give them floor for 35 minutes to present, and then 35 minutes for Serbia, and then 15 minutes Q&A, and then closing remarks. So now I'll give the floor to Goran and Amila from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Goran, if you can wave your hands, please. Amila, I think she has still technical problems, but Goran works for UNDP Bosnia-Herzegovina as a chief technical advisor for climate change adaptation, and he worked for UNDP for the last 7 years with overall 14 years of working experience in water management sector. Amila is also working at Water Management Institute in Sarajevo. Amila has also 7 years working experience as a hydrologist and as a designer and researcher on different projects in the field of water management. And she participated in the development of flood forecasting models in various basins in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And without further ado, I will hand over to my colleague Goran and our distinguished speaker also from the Water Management Institute, Amila, for their remarks. Over to you, Goran.
Thank you very much, Walid, for your kind introduction. Good day, dear colleagues. I'm going to share my presentation now. Okay, so in next few minutes, I'm going to present you a flood risk management project in Bosnia and Herzegovina that basically set up the scene for flood forecasting and early warning system that is in place right now. A project that made this thing happened was a technology transfer for climate resilient flood management in Vrbas River Basin that was implemented by UNDP country office in Bosnia and Herzegovina through from 2015 to 2020. To give you some sort of geographic overview where we are, Bosnia and Herzegovina is a small country in Western Balkans with a total population of about 3.5 million inhabitants. We have 2 entities in one Brčko district divided in 10 cantons and 142 municipalities, and all that in just 51 square kilometers, thousands of square kilometers. We have 2 major river basins in Bosnia and Herzegovina. One is Danube River Basin or Black Sea River Basin, and second is Adriatic Sea River Basin. Our rivers are divided in 7 sub-basins, and unfortunately, we have to say that 56% of our all municipalities are at some risk of river flooding. I'm going to present you now a short video of our integrated water management approach that we conducted through our Vrbas project, and after that, I will shortly explain each of the activities that we completed.
Bosna i Hercegovina je značajno izložena klimatskim promjenama. Ako samo pogledamo unazad 20 godina, svaka od tih godina je bila da li sušna, da li plavna. Naročito su izložene promjene u intenzitetu i učestalosti poplava s kojima se susrećemo.
Zadovoljstvo mi je istaći da je sada projekat doprinio da sliv rijeke Vrbas i 14 opština koji se nalaze u slivu rijeke Vrbas bude najuređeniji sliv u cijeloj Bosni i Hercegovini. Tu posluje preko 2500 poslovnih subjekata i živi preko 300.000 stanovnika.
Globalni fond za zaštitu životne sredine, odnosno GEF, koji provođenjem ovog projekta omogućuje domaćim vlastima na svim nivoima da postanu otporniji na klimatske promjene i to na način da je podstaknut ekonomski rast. Kako je to urađeno? Provođenjem novih tehnologija, uvođenjem novih mjera.
65% sredstava je utrošeno za infrastrukturne projekte, da je 21 projekat realizovan u 11 opština.
Opština Strbac je jedna od 14 opština koja je obuhvaćena ovim projektom i čitav niz, da kažem, konkretnih mjera je realizovano na području naše opštine. Ogleda se prije svega u čišćenju kanalske mreže, negdje preko 6 km je dakle tom prilikom realizovano, izrađeno je nekoliko obaloutvrda, isto tako posađeno je oko 800 sadnica kanalske topole kao mjera zaštite i odnosu na kanalsku mrežu, a naravno i u odnosu na poljoprivredno zemljište. Jer konkretne pozitivne efekte smo već imali priliku da osjetimo s obzirom da nas praktično redovno, bar jednom godišnje, zadese poplave.
Konkretni projekat je jedinstven primjer gdje su svi partneri, institucije sa svih nivoa vlasti u Bosni i Hercegovini aktivno učestvovali, dali svoj veliki doprinos da dođemo do rezultata koji Bosnu i Hercegovinu svrstavaju u red zemalja koji su na adekvatan način odgovorili na klimatske promjene.
Okay, that was our short promotion video. Now I will explain you how we implemented this integrated water management approach in Vrbas River Basin. Well, basically, our project had 3 major components. First one was knowledge sharing or knowledge improvement. Second one was technology transfer, and the third one was infrastructure part. As for the knowledge sharing or improvement, first step was development of flood hazard, flood risk maps, as well as flood risk management plans. In order to do that, we established hydraulic models, we developed GIS databases. When we overlaid all those things, we get flood risk maps and flood hazard maps. And as a final result of those activities is flood risk management plan, which consists of emergency measures, short-term and long-term planning, as well as financial framework for all that to happen. Second component of our knowledge improvement was upgrading of water information system in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I have to say that water information system is a backbone of every water management in the country. At this point in Bosnia, we have 3 water agencies that are operating this water information system. What we managed to establish is upgrade this water information system to be more stakeholder friendly, to people to actively participate in it through WebGIS application. We harmonize it between all institutions, and we developed tools for modeling of torrential water courses, which is a huge problem in Bosnia. As for technology transfer component, we have 2 subparts in that component. The first one is procurement of measuring equipment. We basically updated and upgraded hydrometeorological station system in Bosnia and Herzegovina with 2 hydrometeorological institutions. We procure several hydrological stations, meteorological precipitation stations, and all that in line with World Meteorological Organization. Second component of technology transfer was upgrading of warning equipment for civil protection services. What we did here was strengthen existing lines of communication between civil protection services within whole Vrbat River Basin. We procure mobile and stationary radio stations. We obtain 3 radio relays and 8 digitalized sirens. And the third part of our project, as you hear in our video, almost 65% of all funds went into infrastructural component. What we try here is a new approach. We try to implement non-structural measures. We try to implement hybrid infrastructure, which is combination of gray and green infrastructure, and also nature-based solutions. We did those measures we did actually 21 measures in 11 municipalities, also spread through all Vrbat River Basin. And the results were more than excellent. And basically what we did here in all 3 components of our project is changing a way of thinking from earlier concept, which is more reactive, which was more passive and focused only on flood management, and on today's concept, which is more proactive, which is living with floods, which is basically flood risk management. Right now, this is just a short intro. I will give floor to my colleague Amila, and she will present a component of the project, which was flood forecasting and early warning system, and how it's developed from Vrbat's project to these days. Thank you so much. Amila, floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. We are having some technical issues. I don't know what's wrong, but we will continue. Just take it as it is. So today, I will first share my screen. Okay. So to introduce myself, hi everyone, my name is Amila Hadžiahmetović. I work at Water Management Institute Sarajevo, and I will introduce you to flood forecasting system in Bosnia and Herzegovina on Sava River Basin. Regarding water management in Bosnia and Herzegovina, there are 2 things to consider. Administrative structure and hydrographic borders. Our country consists of 2 entities, a federation and Republika Srpska. Also, there is Brčko district, which is separate administrative unit. Basic territorial unit for water management is a watershed area or basin. So hydrographically, waters in Bosnia and Herzegovina belong to 2 basins. First is Danube River Basin, which includes Sava River sub-basin, and these waters are discharging into Black Sea. And the second one is Adriatic Sea Basin. Sava River receives water from the northern part of the country, and the Adriatic Sea receives water from the southern part. Around 75% of the area belongs to Sava River Basin, and about 25% belongs to Adriatic Sea Basin. These areas are presented on the left. So boundaries of river basins in both entities are determined by government in cooperation with Ministry of Agriculture, Water Management and Forestry. In accordance with water law, water agencies are responsible for implementation of water management tasks, and water institutions from each entity manage the established flood forecasting system on their territory. Water management is divided on different levels: on state level, on entity level, cantonal and local or municipal level. Although water agencies are most important for early warning system and for water management in general, there are other important institutions. Complete structure is quite complex, and I will not go into details. But in short, we have ministry on state level, which monitors work of ministry on entity level. And regarding water course category and significance, governance is divided between agency and on cantonal or municipal level. Platforms for hydrological hydraulic forecasting are part of the flood early warning system as a non-structural measure that enables a timely assessment of the announced conditions in the field and the timely provision of information to competent institutions that carry out activities for the protection and the rescue of people and material goods as well as the public. Forecasting models have been established on 2 platforms. 6 models were established on MIKE platform, including Una and Sana, Vrbas, Bosna, Ukrina, Tinja, and Brka river basins. Forecasting model for Drina River Basin was established on HEC-RTS platform in a way that simulations are performed as needed and not automatically. This system can be compatible with other models. All forecasting platforms and models were established by the middle of 2021, and they cover entire watershed of Sava River in our country. Here on the right, we have a general timeline of forecasting activities. In Action Plan 2014-2017, which was adopted in November 2014 after the catastrophic floods that hit Bosnia and Herzegovina, one of the measures for prevention and early warning was establishment of hydrological forecast. By the end of 2015, it was initiated to create a real-time flood forecasting system for Una River Basin in Federation, and this was the pilot project. Actually, it was continuation of forecasting system for Sava Basin that was already established in Slovenia and Croatia. So system was developed using the same methodology as Slovenian and Croatian flood forecasting systems in real time. On the same platform, Danish Hydraulic Institute MIKE, forecasting models were later established for other basins, for Vrbas, Bosna, Ukrina, Brka, and Tinja. Operational flood forecasting systems are installed at 2 locations. One location is in Sarajevo at Sava Watershed Agency, and the other one is in Bijeljina in public institutions Vode Srpske. Also in 2021, Drina system was established on other platform, HEC-RTS. So project beneficiaries or end users of the flood forecasting system are 4 institutions: Sava River Watershed Agency, public institution Vode Srpske, and the hydrometeorological institutes from each entity. At workshops, employees from these institutions were involved in all aspects of development of existing forecasting system, and they also participated in data collection, in implementation and testing of forecasting system. Okay, so models were developed in MIKE software. Here, it is important to say that model quality of the model depends on quality of the input. Better the data, better the model. So first, a hydrological model was prepared. It is a simplified representation of the hydrological cycle in nature. So basically, models calculate conversion of precipitation or rainfall into the runoff. Mike 11 NUM model was used for this rainfall runoff modeling. It is deterministic conceptual hydrological model, and it treats each subcatchment as one unit. The most important input data for hydrological model is precipitation, evapotranspiration, temperature because of the snow melt, and the QH curve or discharges and water levels. Once the model is completed, it needs to be calibrated. In Mike, calibration can be done automatically and manually. Automatic calibration was performed on basins that are not affected by the runoff from neighboring basins. And for combined basins, manual calibration was performed. Model results are checked using graphical and numerical methods. So here on the slide, there is one graph with black and the red line. One line represents observed and other one simulated runoff. Their numerical overlapping is described using correlation coefficient. So this coefficient, they should be as similar as possible. Perfect match is correlation coefficient 1, but it is acceptable if the coefficient is above 80% or 0.8. Also, total water balance was also estimated graphically and numerically. After the hydrological model was prepared, hydraulic model was next. Hydraulic model was created using available geometry data and the data from digital elevation model. A digital elevation model is a hybrid model between a LiDAR survey and the cross-sectional survey. Model included main tributaries, including the most important hydraulic structures. So before a forecasting model can be used for real-time forecasts, it is necessary to also perform calibration and verification of the model on the recorded flood events. So model is calibrated and validated for different periods depending on the available data where it was possible. Only on Bosna River Basin, 2D models were developed, actually 9 of them, because on Usora and Spreča River, models are divided into upstream and downstream section as separate models. And 2D modeling was prepared in Mike 21 flow model, which is new modeling system based on a flexible mesh approach. And this mesh was interpolated with LiDAR data. As I previously said, UNA and SANA flood forecasting system was developed and established as first or pilot project in forecasting in Bosnia and Herzegovina. In 2020, this system was additionally improved. Previously, UNA-SANA model operated in Croatia, and later it was sent to Bosnia. One of the project tasks from 2020 was to transfer model to Bosnia without any changes to the model itself. So completed forecasting system now provides water level and discharge forecasts for 29 locations on UNA and SANA catchments. Next one was Vrbas system. Starting point for this project were two previously finished activities. One of them was a previously established UNA system, and the other activity was development of flood hazard and the flood risk maps on the whole Vrbas base. So this modeled area is divided into 23 subcatchments. Hydrodynamic model is 1D non-stationary model, but on some sections, quasi 2D approach was used. 30 kilometers of watercourse, 10 overflows, 4 control structures, and 32 bridges were modeled. And also 24 meteorological stations and 60 hydrological stations were included in the model. Verba system was successfully completed after 18 months. System was installed at 2 locations, one in Sarajevo in Sava River Watershed Agency, and the other system was installed in a public institution Vode Srpske in Bijeljina. This operative forecasting system now provides new forecast for water level and discharge every 6 hours for the next 3 days at 22 forecast locations. Input data to systems are forecasts from meteorological models, Aladdin, and the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasts, as well as real-time data that's coming from automatic meteorological and hydrological stations. So published forecasts now can be viewed as maps, as graphs, as tables, and as reports. Within the project, a manual for system administration and use was prepared, and as well as notification protocol that will be discussed later. Bosna flood forecasting system was prepared during 2019 and 2021. This project included 4 basins: Bosna, Ukrina, Brka, and Tinja. All models were developed from river source to the confluence into Sava River. So after also the methodology was the same. After the hydrological model was prepared, then hydraulic model was prepared. And in this project, we use 1D modeling, quasi 2D modeling, and 2D modeling. So models were also calibrated and validated if possible. This system was also located at 2 locations in Bijeljina and Sarajevo, and here the simulation is automatically started every 6 hours, and the forecast is issued for the next 3 days. So that's it. Yes. Sava Delta flood forecasting warning platform. So main goal of this platform is to support stakeholders in making balanced decisions in flood emergency situation. Sava warning system enables all 5 countries from Sava River Basin to make appropriate decisions on management and implementation of measures in order to prevent and mitigate serious flood events. So close cooperation between countries is crucial for successful development of this system. And this is a unique system in terms of cross-border cooperation, and all existing forecasting models are now from the member countries are now part of this platform. Okay, here we can see an overview of the Sava River Basin. A significant part of the basin belongs to our country, and we have established forecasting models for the whole area. So existing procedures in case of increased flood risk are similar in both entities. Based on meteorological forecast from hydrometeorological institutes and European Flood Center, EFAS, and all other available platforms, 7 days in advance, hydrometeorological institutes send notification of possible high water to relevant institutions. These institutions monitor water levels and compare them with elevation from operative plan. So when forecasts from EFAS are confirmed, information of water level is forwarded to other institutions in accordance with operative plans, and also it is forwarded to media and published online. So when alert level is reached at any reference station that is defined by these operative plans, a report on monitored water levels is automatically generated and submitted to competent institutions. So this notification report is delivered every hour to the institutions. Within the Verbas project, a notification protocol was prepared. It is a document that is concluded by 4 institutions that are responsible for safety and protection of people and material goods on possibility of flood occurrence based on results of existing forecasting system in Bosnia and Herzegovina. These institutions are agencies and hydrometeorological institutes in each entity. This protocol was signed on 11th February 2020. In order to use results from operational system, it is very important that the system is tested and validated. And this means it is necessary to use system through at least 2 flood events, and 1 hydrological year is recommended. Regarding currently implemented procedures, they should continue to be implemented. However, as the forecasts will be defined several days in advance, it shouldn't be necessary to wait for relevant water levels to be reached that are defined by operative plans. So notification procedure should be started in advance. 3 days is enough time to consider options for timely response, so the damage that could be caused by upcoming floods can be reduced. Significant effort has been invested in development of reliable forecasting models, but this model needs to be further developed and improved over time. Main focus should be on the following: real-time data improvement. It is proposed to improve quality of QH curves, especially for low probability events, by conducting water metering during flood events. Also, some stations do not have defined QH relationship yet, so over time, this relationship should be defined. For several stations with defined QH relationship, the data is not coming to server. Data from recently established stations and data from all future stations should also be included in the model. Elevation zeros should be known on every station in the system. Next thing is continuation of training program for professionals. So it is very important to continue training professional staff, and especially those who will work with operational forecasting system. Employees need education and to detect and eliminate errors and interruptions in system, as well to tenant system and to improve the system. Next thing is cooperation with electrical power industry. So information on daily operation of hydropower plants included in operative model, because we only receive the general informations. Over time, model should include information on hydropower plants regime and operation, and all available data from these stations should be delivered to server and also linked to the system. Expanding the network, so it would be good to cover some of these unmeasured catchments with new meteorological stations. This would mean that hydrological model is improved, which actually leads to better forecasts. And model evaluation, in order to get insight into model reliability, it is important to make several statistical analyses of the model. So for this reason, it is important to analyze recorded flood events as they occur. Based on evaluation results, it is proposed to recalibrate model after 2 to 3 years, and this will be a foundation for improved flood forecasting system in the whole basin. Also, it is necessary to follow development of new technologies that may be available over time in order to management. No significant flood events were observed during testing, and but further system testing on major flood events is recommended. In September 2022, there was increased rainfall in Bosnia, Slovenia, Italy, and Croatia. Agency was monitoring data from hydrological stations and from flood forecasting system. They were expecting this wave, but forecasts showed that there won't be extreme situation on the field. Reasons for that included vegetation, empty channels, which means that water levels are low, unsaturated soil, and other reasons. So these forecast results help them to prepare for the following action and help them to know what to expect, and also to calm down the citizens. Okay, this is everything I have prepared, so I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you so much, Amelia. Thank you so much, Goran. That was really very interesting and very comprehensive. A lot of work has been done, and really congrats for the great work. And I think there is already some gradual system shift from climate disaster response to climate disaster prevention, which I think is really important to help address human insecurity and prevent major losses and damages to infrastructure, especially at the city level. And we see this kind of transition from response to prevention is coming up clearly from the presentation that and remarks that you presented. And I think there is also opportunities for collaboration and coordination with other countries, as you mentioned. But I think there is also important area of collaboration and coordination with Serbia downstream. And this system, I think, will help make the case for further collaboration and integration of data to help prevent more losses downstream. And importantly as well is the impact and the scale up, and how this system will grow rapidly to become enough to prevent major losses in future, and how that could be also scaled up to other cities and municipalities across the countries. And I think with now, I think I'll give the floor to colleagues from Serbia. And I think they will help us show how this system also has evolved from response to the governance and institutions and the technical capacities from response to governance. And I think there are also opportunities for collaboration between the two countries. And this is why we have invited the two countries to showcase the kind of collaboration and coordination between the countries. Now I give the floor to my colleagues from Serbia. I have Vlad, and Dusan, and Vladimir is the project coordinator at UNDP Serbia, and for EU-funded project and for civil protection and disaster resilience strengthened in Serbia. And that helped to address vulnerability and disasters and increasing resilience to climate change, and address emergency and improve emergency management to climate disasters. And Dusan, head of the Department of Defense and Emergency Situation and Migration, the city of Kruševac, Deputy Chief of City Staff for Emergency Situation, and President of the Fire Brigade Association, City Kruševac, and President of the UN Civil Protection Service, West Morva Basin. I think a lot of experience in the room, and I would hand it over to my colleague Vlada to take it from there. Over to you, Vlada and Dusan.
Hello to everyone. Sorry for not preparing any presentation. I will just do the narrative, and maybe as a follow-up, I can send additional links or material that we have prepared within our project. As of 2014 floods, which is basically the milestone for improvement of the civil protection, disaster risk reduction, and of course recovery, post-disaster recovery system in Serbia, we've gone a long way. The national disaster risk reduction system now is pretty much it's legally formed, following the law in 2018. We have institutions in place, and we have also working on improving the capacities of local self-governments and of course the national level. The system, I will just give a brief overview of the system in Serbia. So the Sector for Emergency Management of the Ministry of Interior is the responsible authority for disaster risk reduction emergency management in Serbia. And the local governments, the sector is operating with its specialized units and the branches throughout Serbia, and the local governments are responsible for disaster risk reduction emergency management within their territory and forming their civil protection units of general purpose. As an initiative, the first initiative of joining local governments in basin association as flood was recognized as the most prominent risk in Serbia. The first step was the Southeastern Europe urban project led by Istanbul Regional Hub, the UNDP, which basically set up a model for cooperation of local self-government based on disaster risk reduction. This model got the greater support from the Ministry of Public Administration, local self-government, the Public Investment Management Office, previously Flood Office, of course, the UNDP in Serbia, and of course, the Standing Conference of Autonomous Municipalities, which had established their networks of civil protection throughout Serbia and was working closely with the local self-governments. Our project, EU for Serbia Resilient to Disasters, which is the shortened title of the project, is focused on strengthening all national and local level capacities in Serbia. It is a continuance of long time investment the support of the EU to Serbia's disaster risk reduction system, and started 2020, coincided with the pandemic. Of course, the first activities were focused on the health system, and then we continued with the support to the Sector for Emergency Management and fire responders, and then local self-governments and their capacities. It's been implemented threefold. Can you hear me? It's been implemented threefold through infrastructure upgrades, procurement of equipment, and capacity building activities. What's targeting the local self-government specifically, and the West Moral Basin Corporation, to where in those local self-government most of the support went, is the procurement of equipment, the mobile dams, 600 meters of mobile dams for the West Moral Basin Corporation, then 900 uniforms for their civil protection units, and the reconstruction of the education center near Kraljevo. The West Moral Basin Corporation is as I say, one of the first bases that's formalized its cooperation in the DRR area, and later on other bases followed. We have I think 5 signed cooperation protocols, and the West Moral Basin signed the cooperation agreement last year, followed by this replication of almost the same model of the Drina River Basin. So now we have 80 municipalities within the West Moral Basin Corporation. Dula will say more about in detail about how they are formed, how they're organized within the basin. What's also important is the capacity building component. We are providing training for local level responders throughout Serbia. So far, we have trained over 1,100 people in their civil protection, disaster risk reduction, and recovery, and we are continuing with another training in December to finalize this training component. For the moment, just to make a separation, what Dusan will be saying later on. So the first order rivers are managed by disaster risk reduction. There is managed by the public water management companies, and the small streams and rivers that go within the local self-government are second order waters, and they're basically the responsibility of local government or their association. Within the let's say protection of the first order waters, those 600 meters of mobile dams that I mentioned. First, UNDP, in cooperation with the Serbia Vode, the public water management company, prepared a study, the mapping of critical locations within the West Morava basin, and then procured the dams to be installed in those locations where the critical locations, critical infrastructure within those local self-governments could be protected the best. Those mobile dams are located in Kraljevo and Čačak partly, and they can be transported and installed within a few hours from the request of the municipality within the West Morava Basin Corporation. Of course, there is a cooperation in between basins, so also dams can be moved in other basins on request and on approval from the joint service of the West Morava Basin Corporation. What is one of the, let's say, the biggest outcome, the most innovative outcome of the project is the risk register. This was a legal obligation, basically, to establish the risk register of Serbia, a disaster risk register. It is hosted in the Republic Geodetic Authority and managed by the Sector for Emergency Management. When it holds information of georeferenced information on floods, earthquakes, forest fires, and landslides. At the moment, when it comes to floods, all the data during the data acquisition process, it came from the institutions dealing with the various projects in this area. Of course, some of those projects are cross-border, of course, border nature, and all that kind of data, flood risk maps, flood hazard maps, the LiDAR recordings, everything was then uploaded in the register, and the register is out since of 13th of October, available for all the citizens. I may share this link later on, so that this disaster risk register will help the institutions, the local self-governments, to understand the risks in their territory, how they're interlinked, because every risk is basically multi-sectorial and of course influences the public health of citizens, and of course enable them to plan disaster risk reduction measures, response, and finally it's open to the general public, so the general public can be aware of the risks that are in their territory. It helps the investors for investment planning, and the general public to be aware and ready, prepared for the hazards that may happen in their territory. Not to prolong this my addressing it first, I will give the floor now to Dusan. He will be talking about the early warning system that's in place in Kruševac and the West Morava Basin Corporation, and later on we can discuss more on some outcomes and the replication of models and the scaling up of the corporation.
Thank you. But before Dusan, I think I just wanted to give note to colleagues and participants that there will be a translation, spontaneous. So maybe you switch to the proper interpretation as you wish. Thanks.
Hello, do you hear me? Hello again, greetings to all the participants and UNDP office in Istanbul. Thank you for the opportunity to present today the platform of the early warning and flash floods warning system. This presentation will be to the English, and I will be speaking Serbian. kako bi se lakše
In
razumeli.
order for us to understand each other more easily, I think it is better that I narrate in Serbian. I will go back compared to my colleagues in Bosnia and Herzegovina in the part that concerns two warnings of the second order water courses, as the government already mentioned that the second order water courses, according to the law, are in the remit of the agency for maintenance of water courses, the same platform with the support. We had a study on the software development, and it was applied in 6 places on the territory of Kruševac. What do we imply by flash floods? These are the conditions that occur in the contemporary times in all seasons, and they endanger the territory of the city of Kruševac intensely, especially the residential buildings, and then also the public and communal infrastructure which they can damage. Through the planning documents, the city of Kruševac has developed as its legal obligation or recognized the danger of torrential floods, and in order to reduce the risk that is evident and that can also be in human lives, not only financial, we took the following steps that I will present. The part Vlada mentioned the year 2014, which was very problematic for the entire Western Balkans. It brought large damage to the entire area, and the city of Kruševac had suffered damage within 4 days of 1,400,000 euro. And our territory covers 54 square kilometers. That's I mentioned one of the legal obligations that is given as an obligation to local self-governments under the new law, that is the risk assessment. In the risk assessment and in the matrix of risk assessment, these flash floods on the territory of the city of Kruševac endanger its territory, as you can see here in percentages. They are very problematic and come from great heights, and they flood the areas in the valleys. That's why they are problematic, because their course, the course of the water has great acceleration, and it is necessary to implement all measures that in terms of erosion protection and flood protection. We mentioned here some of the water courses and some of the basins that these rivers belong to that can be threatening, and they come from Jastrebac mountain mostly. Why do I mention Jastrebac? It is the most forested mountain in the Republic of Serbia. It has a lot of waters, and that is one of the reasons that it is so. We have a lot of precipitation on this mountain. As you can see, these are some of the consequences of these flash floods that happen, and we wanted to show the degree of intensity and the frequency, the consequences are from 2020, 2021, and 2022. Every year, due to climate change that we are all suffering, the precipitation increases, and in intensity, the amount of precipitation that we used to have in 1 month falls within 1 or 2 days. So everything that is around these water courses and damage is done to residential areas, companies, and infrastructure. There are no rules. From these photos, you can see that we had floods also during winter, which we didn't have before. We had it in 2021 in January, and then in spring, and then also during the summer and autumn. Looking into the experience we've gone through and the assessment we've done, what is it that we noticed as a problem and why we needed this early warning system for flash floods? The problems we noted was the longer reaction time. You have a problem until someone warns you that there is a flood, or you get a warning from the National Hydrometeorological Institute. It is in charge of giving warnings for the territory of Serbia, and we refer to that. There is now a long reaction time, and you have more threats to people, their property, public infrastructure, which increases the damage before someone reacts. Also, an increased number of emergency services in charge. You have to send them not knowing what it is or what the extent of the danger is, or of the flash floods. You have to send more people to save the property and people there, and only then to work on removing the consequences of floods. Then this later reaction leads to threatened human lives, and this is an immeasurable risk for all of us. What does this platform bring, this early warning platform? We have shorter time of reaction, of notifying the warning sent, and then we also have an adequate number of people through the planning documents that we are also obliged to develop on the local self-government level to plan them for this activity. So we will not send all services, but only the necessary ones for prevention of floods and for the evacuation and rescue, and the possibility on the increase in the flash floods. We can transmit through other means. One of them is the radio connection.
Obviously, this leads to having adequate locations, which you've recognized as problematic, and you implement prevention measures in these locations. These measures can mean sorting out the water flows, and also we always try that they're not just to fight floods, but also to use them for some sort of other function, whether we are talking about irrigation for agriculture or for tourism, for them to be multifunctional, in addition to protecting infrastructure and property, and so that all these localities are multifunctional. Now, how did we come across this idea? Well, with the help from our friends from UNDP and the EU delegation, but also the World Bank. We've had various visits to other services dealing with similar issues, such as the Disaster Coordination Center where I work, and one of these visits was a visit to ACOM, which is the City Center for Cooperation and Emergency Measures in Istanbul. They are obviously working at a much higher level, relating to prevention and also technical equipment, but we also learned there about the system of covering systems within and hot points in Istanbul itself, which were the cause of floods in 2000 decade, and how they dealt with this. In addition to hydrotechnical measures, they've also implemented early warning system and technical prevention measures. And this is what we're trying to use here in our case. Vlada has already mentioned one of the systems of organizing local self-governments within the borders of the Republic of Serbia, especially within the basins of certain rivers, which is to bring these points together through the actual basins. So trouble that all the local governments having to face due to torrential water courses and the measures they have to implement that are determined by the state, which is to have operative annual plans for flood prevention, where you've recognized critical points and everything that you need to do. They are present in all 18 local self-governments that you can see here in the basin of Western Morava River. With a round population of about 800,000 people. So this is an important network of torrential water courses that encompass almost 1 million kilometers with all the rivulets and creeks and little rivers. And this has forced us to join forces and try to help each other through some of the activities that UNDP and the EU delegation have implemented in Serbia through equipment and training. And these are the measures that we ourselves have implemented using our own budgets and funds. Now, this is the architecture and components of the system itself, as much as this is possible. And how important this is, it contains all the central components and the components which are remote. We're talking about the systems and sensors which are placed at these localities along the water courses. They contain various systems and integration with other systems and the possibility of graphical representation, data storage, alarms, notifications, sending electronic information using Telegram, mobile application, visual information. This is all important for the central component. Now, as far as remote components are concerned, they contain the possibility of obtaining information about the weather, water levels, air quality, and many other information that could be useful, which will be added when the system is updated. We have protocols in Serbia relating to the part of how you obtain this information and what are the connections existing. There can be either using mobile networks such as 2G and 3G, then IP addresses, radio, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, etc. Now, another thing that is very important in this case is the reliability of the system, because with a very simplified architecture of the system itself and the remote sensors, it is important to have the component of it being independent of things that can fail. There is also possibility of sending information using independent batteries that can go on working for 18 hours, since the beginning of the power cut. Here you can see the architecture and the components on this graph, meaning what it is that they contain and where these remote sensors are located using these radio connections, Wi-Fi networks, and other types of connection. They supply the central system with all this information and the rest, and then this information is distributed to various stakeholders. This is just a list of contents of the central component on the web interface, on the homepage. When you access it, there is the part of the map and localities for specific group to which that particular user belongs. For the locality, there are markers which will show you later on the interface, and also showing all the important parameters. This means that we're using colors according to the level of warning, ranging from green to yellow to red, and the possibility of showing these critical warnings. Things, of course, are updated at regular intervals, and there is also a possibility of having an overview of sites by group and shortcuts for the site management, and then we are trying to offer this possibility to all the stakeholders. This is the distribution of localities on the territory of Kruševac. There are 6 localities in this particular basin of the rivers, which we've just mentioned, where these localities are shown in a particular timeline. Green tells you that everything is okay in that particular locality. Yellow, that there is a certain level of disturbance in that part of the system. When you click on that particular locality, you have this pop-up menu showing you all the information about the locality, the coordinates, the meteorological conditions, and what can be expected in the coming period. Now, when it comes to the central component and user management of the central component, how they can use it, there is obviously a list of users, but there is also a possibility of adding users depending on which group they belong to, and also the role that they perform within the management system, whether they are users, administrators, managers, and a certain level of access is attributed to them. There is a possibility of deleting a user, just like you can add a user, and the possibility of password change if you believe that the system has been compromised or the system is under threat. You can also see here how you can add a component. The administrator or whoever has the permission to add users, because in Serbia, within the protection and emergency system on the national and regional and the local level, there are headquarters for emergency situation, within which we've integrated all the stakeholders on all levels working in the emergency systems. And so there is a possibility of adding them and accessing the component itself. Now, site management entails a whole list of locations. On the location itself, you can add names to which group the user belongs, defining the type of information that is supplied, whether we're talking about meteorological information, water levels, blizzards, air quality, coordinates, meaning geographical coordinates and technical coordinates, which are supplied from the locality itself, determining the geopositioning and the possibility of using this information within the geographical information system, because every local self-government have their own system using for development plans and all the other information that they require and are used by the local authorities. There is also a possibility of deleting a location if it is determined unnecessary. This is something that we mentioned earlier on in the web interface. You have the name of the locality, location, and where it is in the latitude, longitude, and where you can check the situation, where it is located, and what information can be obtained from each particular locality. So, for example, for this first locality, the River Modrica, you can look at the water levels, and once you enter the locality, you can check the water levels and how threatening it is at that particular moment. Now, location management follows by adding the required graphs and then the status of remote site connection to see whether it is accessible or not, visible or not, to see what's going on at that locality, display of the last call of the remote location or the location which you selected, then defining thresholds for all alarms, defining the level for when the alarm is set off, and what it is that you need to react to, because not every river is the same, and the water level in each river is different because it depends on the precipitation along the basin of that particular river. They won't have the same precipitation, and obviously the water levels will be different due to that. The data is refreshed every minute. This is an important information for all of us making decisions, determining on whether to raise people's awareness, to allow people to undertake measures for evacuation, and the overall of all alarm status information for a specific location. So in addition to water levels, you have meteorological forecasts and what it is that is expected will be happening over the next few hours, depending on the precipitation. There is this overview of alarm status. It entails whether we're talking about the green, normal situation, yellow, some disturbances are happening, or whether there is the red light, there is emergency flood warning. One of the points that we mentioned is on the Ribarska Reka River, near the town called Ribarska Banja. In addition to it being a spa, they've got a problem with the basin of the Ribarska Reka River, and you can see once the level has hit above 5.76, there will be flooding and damages to the localities under that locality. So that we've given that obviously the same sorts of green, yellow, and red, whether depending on which measures need to be undertaken. There is a pop-up menu on the right-hand side telling you about the current state, is the temperature of the water, and also the water levels at that particular moment. This is something that we mentioned a moment ago. This is updating the information every minute. So there you can see the changes in the water levels as it is going up or down, and you can see the period that we looked at. It was a fairly stable water flow, and there was no alarm set off. Nothing of this would be possible without the meteorological parameters. Each one of these stations has hydro and meteorological parameters included, and they show you the air temperature, humidity, current outside temperature, and pressure. This is important for you to be able to decide how to act in a particular moment or in the future, depending on the locality, because as I said, the precipitations vary but they can produce different levels of warning depending on the locality, even though they might have the same level of precipitation. We also mentioned about the meteo data in the remote component, the features, there's temperature, humidity, subjective feeling of this temperature, air pressure, dew point, which is of course very important for when you have the possibility of freezing of these water flows. So there is a chance of ice appearing along these rivers, so they could be doubly damaging to the water courses. The speed, direction, and the gusts of wind, how the wind is affecting that particular locality, because there could be a multi-hazardous situation where you've got flooding as well as storms with trees being uprooted or damaged, which can of course be damaging to the electrical infrastructure and infrastructure in general. We're also looking at the amount of precipitation, because it's according to the level of precipitation you are determining which measures to undertake. And the UV index radiation can be important in the sense that if you've got a period of drought, and according to this, it can represent another hazard to the locality. Now, when it comes to water level, water drop, and how we define this information, you look at the water level height, you look at the percentage of or estimation of water level in relation to predefined warning thresholds. However, they are determined, so there's a possibility of having the green, yellow, and red warning level, and also the air temperature at the locality itself, but also the water temperature, not just the air temperature, as well as the water temperature. Further on, what is an additional platform feature that could be implemented in the future? Well, the modularity of the system allows an upgrade and inclusion of other types of sensors and data. Sensors for monitoring air quality. This is terribly important nowadays, especially in areas, in urban areas. You can look at the levels of sewage and pollution of sewage waters. This can be quite problematic in less urban areas where there is no central regulation of sewage water treatment, also control of water supply, because often these things, where there is existing water flows, there can also be sewage and following the road infrastructure and other types of infrastructure. There are other technical features that can be included, and it is always good to update and upgrade and use other algorithms and crossing information.
You have 2 minutes to conclude. Thank you.
Yes, I'm finished. Yes. This is remote components, kako izgleda sam sistem na jednoj od lokacija. Dalje. Delovi tog sistema koji, kažem, izgledaju
simple, but they provide practical results. We can also have the option of upgrading when we have power cuts. The same system is sent via radio signals. And what should we plan in the future in upgrading? What the city of Kruševac would do is increase energy independence through solar panels, upgrading in 5 more locations in other water courses, which threaten the city of Kruševac. And also very important, we will try to introduce video surveillance in these locations to exclude and all the possibilities of glitches. This system can be upgraded in other 18 local self-governments. That is, it exists in Uževac. All the data can be processed in Kruševac and shared with other local self-governments in Western Morava Basin. We need financial support for this, which we hope to get and through our friends from the UNDP. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dushan. Thank you so much, Kulik. Thank you, Vlada. Thank you also, Goran and Mila, speakers from Bosnia and Herzegovina. It was really very holistic, very interesting, a lot of great experience, a lot of technicalities, it seems like there, and it seems like data infrastructure is important component and very critical, and I think investment on that is still very important. But I think coordination, I think, with other countries along the rivers and downstream and upstream is really important and critical. I think we have a few minutes left for Q&A, and I open the floor for participants for Q&A. Please feel free to raise your hand or put your question in the chat box. Any questions, please? Feel free to raise your hand. Let's see if the floor might have some questions. I can see Gareth. Yeah, please feel free, Gareth.
Hi there. Yes, thanks very much for both the presentations. Very, very interesting and lots of rich information there. I've got a question for Goran and perhaps Emilia as well about the flood risk management project. Goran, you touched upon briefly nature-based solutions that are part of the project. I'm interested to hear just a little bit. I'm conscious of time, but I'm interested to hear just a little bit more about that.
Yes. Well, through our project, we actually had only 2 nature-based solutions measures implemented. One was focused on afforestation. We basically plant 5.4 kilometers of fast-growing trees along the channel network to reduce erosion, to reduce degradation of farmland behind that part, and that basically acts as a buffer strip, so it protects both river banks and land behind it. So that was one measure that was implemented. The second one was rehabilitation of one devastated river meander. So in that measure, what we actually did is rehabilitated, I think it was maybe 600 meters of one river meander that was degraded by farmlands that are not using it now. And while recreating this meander, we actually stabilized flow of the river, reduced fast discharge from downstream, and pretty much recreate existing ecosystem that was in place prior to degradation from the people that are living there. So that was only 2 measures that we implemented. I hope I give you a satisfied answer.
Absolutely. Thanks very much. Very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Goran. Any other question from the floor? Please feel free or put your question in the chat box. Yeah, colleagues, I think it seems like a lot of data there, a lot of information, but maybe I have a very quick question. Seems like we are coming close to the end. I can see Daniel, please feel free. Daniel, could you come in?
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. Very professional job. I have a question. if about the informatic system with the database and forecasting system, they are installed in a particular server, they work on the cloud. My question is if a specific country is interested in this work, it's possible to install this system in a country server. Thank you.
I think you're unmuted. Unmute yourself, please, Goran.
Yes, but I will. Amila did not hear the question, so I will repeat to her that basically, if I understand correctly, you are asking if there is possible to install data of all observed data on a local server, right? Right?
Yes. Yes, this is the question.
Okay, thank you so much. Amila will answer now because she has problem with her headphones.
Yes. So as I mentioned, these flood forecasting servers are really large and they take up a lot of space. So there was a separate and big servers that were installed, especially in our two agencies, so they can receive all the data. It is very, very big system. So every users from other institutions and other interested parties can see results from different servers, different approaches from different websites, but the whole system is only available on two servers, one in Federation and one in Republika Srpska. I can see the
please,
question.
Vlada, yeah.
Thank you.
Raise here hand from Vladimir.
I just want to comment how we did the risk register in Serbia. We chose, even though the Sector for Emergency Management is managing the risk-related data, we chose the authority for national spatial infrastructure. So Geodetic Authority is the one that's hosting all the data. They have all the IT infrastructure there. They have all the cybersecurity there and big server rooms. They're just procuring additional storage space, basically, and of course, innovative servers as they come on the market. But basically, they're the ones that are matching the geospatial data and the risk-related data, and that's why they're the host, even though the Ministry of Interior is managing. So it's hosted basically in one institution. So all the institutions within the system of DRR are uploading their data into those servers. So a single point of entry and one place that's analyzing everything in real time.
Yeah, Dushan, I think I saw you want to say something. You're muted. But very quickly, because we are running out of time.
Can I say something?
Pardon, konstatacija I podrška.
The support to the government on this, the system is very adaptable and can be replicated to the other water basins and can be upgraded and be useful regionally because it's specific and helps the local administrations in their first response to the emergency or a disaster.
Thank you. Amila, very quickly, please. Yeah, Dushan, you finished your remarks? Okay. Yeah, very quickly, Amila. 1 minute.
Okay, I would just like to conclude something because we developed all these systems in order to protect human lives in the first place and then the material goods. So we will improve the system. I talked about it in presentation, but I also believe there is space for improvement from the moment we have forecast results to the moment that we are giving this information to the people. This is a recently installed system, so really there is time for improvement and to for everything to, let's say, to settle down. And also it is important to look at the wider picture. So our Sava Basin forecast models are only part of the puzzle. We need to look basin as the whole. So information from our forecast system can be useful not only to our citizens, but to citizens in, for example, Serbia, for downstream users. So it is very important that our results actually can help them to prepare in case of upcoming flood event. So they will have enough time to have timely response to prevent significant damage that could happen on in their cities. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Amila. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, distinguished speaker. This was really great, very inspiring, and I can see a lot of opportunities for collaboration between Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I think this is all about how we work together, how we will coordinate, how we share information. It's really critical with the rapidly emerging and spreading climate crisis that are becoming more recurrent and more intense. So we need to make sure that we gather the information, we coordinate, and we work and collaborate with each other. I think this is really very interesting and very inspiring. Thank you for your remarks. Thank you for sharing. This is a great experience. I'm really honored to moderate this very interesting discussion and collaboration between countries and looking forward to working together in future. With that, I think we have reached to the end of the session. We are over schedule a bit, but it was really very interesting. And thank you so much. And we will be connecting in the near future. Thank you so much. And have a great day.
Thank you as well.
Thank you as well.
Thank you all.
Thank you.